Thank you for watching this video presentation brought to you by the Pikes Peak Library District. In the fall months, we see such programs as Indie Author Day and the National Novel Writing Month, as well as Mountain of Authors. We will be presenting a showcase of local authors. We are happy to bring you this presentation with resources, tips, and advice for writers and aspiring authors alike. With us today is Doris Baker, owner and operator of Filter Press, a publishing business in Palmer Lake, Colorado. Filter Press has been a continuously operating publishing business since the summer of 1956. Doris and Tom Baker purchased the business from its founder in late 1995. Filter Press partners with many Colorado organizations, including the Colorado Humanities, the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Women Writing the West, and the Pikes Peak Library District. She has been a longtime partner and contributor to the Pike Library District's Mountain of Authors program. She has been with us since the beginning 14 years ago, and her advice and guidance has been invaluable to the growth of the program. You can find out more about Filter Press at their website, filterpressbooks.com. Welcome, Doris.
Thank you, Brian. It's good to be here. And how exciting that the Mountain of Authors programming is going on in spite of, quote, the current circumstances, unquote. We are all facing so much these days, so it's nice to get together, even if it's by Zoom.
Absolutely. We're happy to see you and to bring this program to our audience out there, many of whom were participants and attendees at Mountain of Authors. So, first question for you today, one that would be on the mind of many writers. What do you see are some of the challenges being faced by writers trying to get noticed and published in this time when we're facing pandemic and many other adversities?
Well, we know we're all tied together. The American economy is tied to what's happening in book publishing, vice versa. Authors, their efforts are tied to and have to be influenced by what's happening in the overall economy. And we know that that has slowed. We know that there is less discretionary spending for a lot of Americans, and books are discretionary spending. But the things that really affect are the facts that is the fact that mid-size and small publishers are not taking very many chances. They're doing what they're relying on their established authors to supply new materials to them, and they're just not reaching out as much. So what that means for authors is that you're going to have to know a lot more publishers and about many more publishers, because you might have to query or submit even more than you have in the past. The thing that really affects once that book is published is the cancellation of so many events and the limited hours at bookstores. Bookstores themselves are not buying as broadly and as widely, deeply as they were a year ago before all this happened. The cancellation of events goes all the way from the Frankfurt Book Fair to things like Mountain of Authors, to the very, very local of the in-person events, I mean. But the thing to remember, though, is that some of this can be beneficial. If it is recorded on Zoom and it's on YouTube or on another platform, oftentimes an author can attend a national meeting that would never be open to them if they had to travel. So I'm thinking of the Tucson Festival of Writers. That's all online, and you can sit in on any author interviews or any advice panels. But that's just one example. So many things are now online and available, and often for free to writers. So if you look at it or trying to see a positive to some of this, that certainly is, to me, being available to access all that information. So another challenge that we might not think of is a challenge to women writers. Now that schools are closed and the parents have taken over teaching, by and large, not always, and not in all school districts certainly, but that really impacts mainly, frankly, women writers. They don't have those hours and they don't have time, and their focus has to be somewhere else, and that is supervising those children's education. So some things you think of immediately, such as slower sales, other things you think of that are incidental.
Fantastic. So generally speaking, that this question you've touched upon, but the state of the market for authors and publishers right now, good, not so good, getting better, about the same. What do you think?
Well, I think we always have to look to optimism and optimistic forecast, and I do think they're getting better. Book sales were really low, but within that low book sales, they're climbing. So they're not as good as they were in 19, but book sales are better than they were, say, 2 months ago. So we can take that as a little encouragement. And the marketing, as it always does, it depends on the author's reach and the author's motivation, the publisher's budget, the niche, whether it's a hot topic or not. All of those things go into the considerations for marketing and the success of any marketing plan. Publishers with less sales, they have less money to put into marketing. Plus, today, so many big books are out there that are kind of swallowing the attention and the marketing budgets of publishers, that is mid-sized to large publishers. The rule still holds that a book needs multiple marketing channels, more than one. You can't just sell through Amazon, or you can't just sell in-person events. You need to have several marketing venues to go to. And the thing is that it's persistence, as it always has been. It's the persistence of the author that counts, and the commitment of the publisher.
And what you had said about participating in Zoom presentations. As a matter of fact, one of the authors for All Pikes Peak Reads, which will be taking place the fall of 2020, was a first-time author that was discovered through an online presentation. So that's definitely a good recommendation there. So what advice might you give a writer in terms of proofreading, editing, marketing, and peer critiquing? What resources are out there for authors and indie authors to help with refining their works?
Well, I'm going to refer to my notes here because that's a three-pronged question and far too much for me to hold in my little mind. So editing is so important. There is an adage in publishing that there's no good writing, there's only good rewriting. And an editor certainly helps with that. The editor can come in when you have your first draft, or right before you submit to a publisher. But you need that review, that edit before you submit to the publisher. You want to make sure, and I'm going to put editing and proofreading together here. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of comma errors or not a lot of misspellings, things like that, things that a new set of eyes can really point out and help you with, because a publisher is almost looking for a reason to not read your manuscript. And I say that because they receive, not because they're mean, but because they receive so many submissions that they need to cull out some. So if they open a query letter or a first chapter of a submission, and it's hard to read because of these these grammatical, punctuation, whatever, spelling errors, then that's a really good reason for them to go on to the next one. So you don't want to eliminate your manuscript because of that. So editing and proofreading. Also be prepared to take seriously the publisher's editor, the edit your book will get before it goes to publication, before it goes to printing. You need to be open and know that you probably don't have the last word on that. So although, you know, they're your words, you need to really pay attention and be flexible with the editor that's part of the publishing company. The marketing, well, we could spend all day talking about marketing. But the basics are that you must show a publisher that you are aware of the marketing challenges in general and for your book specifically. And even in your query letter, it's good to say or to give 2 or 3 little marketing things that you've already thought of how you will market this book. Maybe you have a whole marketing plan that you could attach to your query letter. But the basic thing is that you know it's going to be important and you have already a beginning plan for your marketing. The cultivation of a trustworthy group or a critique group is very important. We all know that writers write in solitude. It's a rather lonely profession, and to have the social interaction with a group of like-minded authors who take their work seriously and are willing to take your work seriously is very important. And how do I know this? Well, it's because authors tell me that they learn so much and gain so much from a critique group. It's a listen and learn and contribute kind of social interaction. Many critique groups meet online, but many also meet in person, and I'm sure that will return as soon as we are over what I like to call the present circumstances.
Indeed. So which professional groups or what professional groups are out there to help authors? What are some of the benefits, and you touched on this too, the benefits to joining one of these many writing groups, either locally or nationally? I know you do a lot of work with the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, better known as CIPA. What's out there for these authors?
Oh my goodness. No matter your niche, no matter your level of expertise, and no matter your experience, there's a group for you. To start with, Colorado Independent Publishers Association at cipabooks.org. The benefits of membership there are myriad. It's a good way to connect with service providers, editors, designers, that sort of help that authors need. So it's good in that way, and they have very informative programs monthly. Right now it's Zooming, of course, but there's also a meeting, in-person meeting on a regular basis, whether it's Zoom or in person. Nationally, many authors belong and depend on the Authors Guild, and that can be found online rather readily just with those 2 words, Authors Guild. And they provide so many services to authors. And I know that I've talked to authors so many times who have said, well, I would have made this mistake, or I would have made that mistake had it not been for Authors Guild. The Pikes Peak Writers, who produce a wonderful conference each year, they're local. And you can actually meet other people and enjoy that kind of camaraderie. But the conference this year is all online, and it's in conjunction with other local writers groups, and it's free. So Google the Pikes Peak Writers and see if you can get on board with that. And I think it would prove very beneficial to you. Women Writing the West, if you're interested in writing about Western themes with women protagonists, they have a wonderful listserv, or excuse me, an online forum that that's very enlightening, and you can ask all sorts of questions of your fellow writers. There's a national conference associated with that organization as well. And again, with the Western themes, you can't overlook belonging to, or at least knowing about, Western writers of America. Now, how does this relate to getting published or your publishing? And let me go back for just 1 minute. And that is to talk just a moment about the importance of SCBWI to children's authors. That's the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It's a powerful group. And any publisher who's beginning to think that they want to take you on, or they think your book looks good, part of their marketing plan will be, how many of these associations are you familiar with? How many do you belong to? Do you go to the conference? Because these conferences and the online presence are where you make contacts, where you learn what's new, what other authors are doing. And the network for an author is just very important. So your publisher will probably take that into account in designing, maybe in deciding to publish your book, but certainly in trying to create a marketing plan for your book.
Excellent. So some great advice there for marketing books to publishers and to other authors. But how about marketing directly to the reading public in this veritable sea of books that appear on all of these online platforms? How do you really make yourself stand out? How do you really appeal directly to the reading public?
You know, most people buy books because somebody recommended them. So recommended a title to a fellow reader. So it's very important that you ask your reader to recommend your book on Goodreads, on other platforms, on Amazon. That's very important that people say good things about your book. And you as an author can encourage that. Ask your friends, ask your fellow authors to go online and post something about your book, something positive, we hope. But the bottom line is to have that social presence to start with. And I know a lot of authors who say, I just don't like to do that. I just don't want to do that. But really, it's part of the job. And writing is a job. And so you need to have, and if you're reluctant to do it, start out easy. Start out with LinkedIn and with Facebook. If you don't have that presence already, have a Facebook page for your title or titles, and have a Facebook page that's for you personally, and cultivate those followers. Of course, you need to know about all of these many ways that you can communicate online. Instagram is hot today, but it might give way to a brand new format tomorrow. So knowing that it always changes is important, and keeping up with it. And that's a matter of reading online. The internet is the great equalizer. You can learn the same things that Stephen King is learning online. It's open to you as well as to famous authors or successful authors. Unless I'm talking to a lot of successful authors, and you already know that. Does that help you, Brian?
Absolutely. It sounds like some absolutely fantastic advice and insights there, Doris, and that even though we all find ourselves in these circumstances nowadays, and that some things have changed in the world of books and writing, a lot of the fundamentals have not. A lot of the advice that would be given to people transcends everything. And it's excellent to always reinforce these ideas to people who are established in writing or just starting out. So Doris, any last thoughts today?
Well, I want to say continue reading. If you're a writer, you need to read, of course. And there's certain books on writings that are very helpful. The Zisner books on writing well and writing to learn. Stephen King's book on writing well. The title is actually On Writing Well. And then a friend has just pointed out that John McPhee has a book on writing that's very beneficial called Draft Number 4. So I know all of these books are available through Pikes Peak Library, but there's so much more. These are just basics, like Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, but the Amazon has 50 plus pages of books on the craft of writing. So any kind of little detail that you want to explore in an entire book is going to be there and available to you. And the same is true in Pikes Peak Library, that those books are going to be available. And the very last thing I'll say is that when you write, you need to have some self-knowledge, especially if you are writing long-term and you think this is something that you're going to do, that you're going to pursue over a number of years. You don't want to invest years and not know what your goals are or not know why you are writing. So I would advise writers, especially beginning writers, to know thyself, to know why you're writing. Are you writing just because you have to, because that is your calling, and you feel like you've accomplished just what you want to when you write some paragraphs each day, or if you're writing for profit? It's a completely different mindset, but an author should know why am I writing? What are my goals?
Doris Baker from Filter Press. You can check out their website at filterpressbooks.com. Wonderful, wonderful advice and insights. Doris, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Brian.
Thank you. And as a reminder, you can find out more about the Pikes Peak Library District and resources available through us for authors and writers. This information may be found at ppld.org. Hover over the Research tab, and you can click on the Writer's Corner, where you can find links to topics such as literature resources, topics of publishing and marketing, self-publishing, writing groups, and of course the Indie Author Project and ebooks. You can also visit the Pikes Peak Library District's Mountains of Authors webpage, found at ppld.org/MOA for more information about past, present, and future programs and opportunities for authors and to be part of Mountain of Authors. Again, thank you for joining us today.